Thanks so much for tuning in to our second episode of The Cold Front. I'm Sabrina Bates.
And I'm Joie Bettenhausen.
The official first day of fall was Friday, September 22nd, so we are in full fall blast.
Even though we're in the fall season, it still hasn't felt like fall just yet.
Today we plan to talk all about this season, but let's start off with explaining exactly what it is.
So let's discuss the differences between meteorological and astronomical fall.
Right, so most of us know that the first day of fall is the end of September, and that is what is astronomical fall. But as meteorologists, we know the beginning of fall as the very first day of September.
Exactly, and that is because for meteorological purposes, it's easier to determine climate statistics if you keep all the months the same within a certain season, versus astronomical, it bases which year it is. When we have leap year, it can throw off the dates and things like that.
Exactly, and when we have this astronomical fall, as we call it, that's when we have an equinox. It's our fall equinox, and that's when the sun's rays are right over the equator. Now, as we said, it's the end of September, and it changes year by year, but it's usually the end of September.
Right, and yeah, it does, depending on the dates and, as the sun orbits, or as the Earth orbits the sun, it's 365.24 days, I think.
Right, and we get that extra day when we add in that leap year every 4 years. So that's why the days change a little bit too.
Right, and so for us, we now, astronomical, the equinox is September 22nd, but for us here in Northwest Indiana, we experience the full equinox at 3:02 p.m. Central Daylight Time.
Right, because the equinox isn't a full day event. It's just at a specific time. So from the East Coast ranging to the West Coast, there's all various times that we get those strong sun's rays exactly over the equator.
Exactly, and with fall comes cooler weather.
Yes, so that's kind of the signal that we have this equinox coming. That's when we have those cooler fall temperatures, and that's what we know is fall.
Exactly, even though it didn't seem like it, this year with it being warmer, and even now, even though above average temperatures, which is very interesting.
Right, exactly. We are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we plan to talk about the science behind why the leaves begin to change colors.
Plus, we'll discuss fall weather all across America.
Stay tuned.
So right now we're looking at the peak foliage forecast, and as you can see right here, October 22nd is when it will be peak season for us, for both Illinois and Indiana. Now we have a few more days until we reach that, but as soon as we hit peak, we'll see those beautiful colors last for just a few more weeks. Now, some places up north as far as Wisconsin and Michigan have seen peak season now for over a month, and that's due to temperature, which we will talk about later. So I did some research and I found a few top fall trees that a lot of people like to go see. So first is the black tupelo, and that contains different shades in the same branch. So one branch will have leaves that are yellow, some more leaves that are orange and bright red, and so you get this multitude of colors that are very beautiful to go see. Next is the sweet gum. Now, if you don't have a chance to go out and look at those trees during the peak season, that's okay, because these trees allow the leaves to last a little bit longer before they fall off, and those you'll get yellows and purples and reds. And finally, something we're most likely to see, especially in the Midwest, is the red maple. Now, you'll see those usual colors, those deep reds and yellows, and even some may be green. So first is the black tupelo, and as you can see here, you get these beautiful orange, yellow, and red shades. Now, my favorite is the sweet gum, and that's because of those multitude of colors. So you can have parts of leaves that are red or purple on the edges, and in the middle you can get yellows, and still, even over here, you can get some green. So again, those are my very favorite. Finally, what we're all used to seeing are those red maples. Now, the red maples has, again, those deep oranges and yellows and reds, and that's truly what I like to go see. I know that's always what I remember, especially being, younger.
I remember definitely all around here we see those red maples, and they're just gorgeous.
No, they truly are. I feel like when you think of fall, that's what you think of, is that, I don't want to say standard issue, but pretty much that's like perfect stereotype of fall.
At least here for those of us in the Midwest.
Exactly.
But as you go further up into Michigan and Wisconsin, we definitely know that there's a lot more colors that are changing in the area up there too. I know a lot of people go up to Michigan and Wisconsin, up near the UP, to see all those beautiful changing colors for right around this time of year.
Yeah, I know I've had some family members go up because the peak season is earlier due to the temperature changes, and I know places up north are obviously colder. So that way, if you want to make the season last longer, you could go up to maybe up north to Michigan, go see it, then maybe come back down to the Midwest about mid-October, and then if you still want to go see some more, you can head south, and you can make a whole 2 months worth
Yeah,
out of it.
if you love fall, then that's definitely perfect.
Exactly.
But you mentioned temperature.
Yes.
So why don't we talk about now how those leaves start to change some colors?
Yeah.
So in regards to weather, the main 3 ingredients for those leaves to start changing colors are going to be temperature, precipitation, and wind.
Exactly. So obviously with temperature, trees will normally start to seal themselves up as a peak season starts to end and as we head closer to fall due to sealing up water and moisture as they head towards winter. Now that's kind of their way of, staying alive and not dying so much during the winter. And now with that, that's what helps change leaves because of the chlorophyll starts to break down. And usually when it's a lot of chlorophyll, that's when you see those deep greens. But as it starts mixing with the oxygen and different pigments, that's when we start to get yellows and reds.
Yeah, and those are definitely very pretty. Precipitation also plays a major role in it too. Like this year, we've been abnormally dry for most of September, so that's why those leaves weren't really changing colors as quickly and why some of them were kind of shriveling up and drying up a little bit early and falling off the trees. But when we get a lot more water, like we did this weekend at least, we start to see those leaves change a little bit more quicker and get a little bit more prettier colors.
And I know some people were concerned with the fact that are we going to see the leaves change this year because of, such small precipitation amounts, but thankfully we did have that good rain and we could see some more rain in the future that could really brighten up those leaves.
Definitely, and right now we're a little bit patchy in this area.
Yes, we are.
So we're seeing a few colors.
Not as many yet.
Not as many yet, no. We still see a little bit of those greens, but most of those leaves are actually still on those trees right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're not really going to be seeing those leaves dropping in Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin for a little bit of time at least. Probably not till end of this month, I'd say.
Exactly, but I know there's plenty of places to go see these leaves.
Definitely could take a nice scenic drive up a little bit further north to get those pretty leaves.
Exactly.
All right, another commercial break coming up, but after the break, we will elaborate on fall weather all across the U.S.
And later, we'll talk about our own fall memories from when we grew up.
We'll be right back.
Thanks so much for sticking with us. Now we're going to delve into what type of fall weather you can expect this season.
From wildfires to fog to floods to frost, there's a lot to talk about.
And I think we should start with wildfires because those have been most prevalent, especially in the western part of this country.
Definitely very prominent for right now. It's been talked about a lot in the news. So we're going to talk about those main factors that come along with the production of wildfires. So it's usually because you have those temperatures, wind, and moisture.
Exactly, and so dealing with moisture, those are low dew points. That's meaning it's super dry out there, and then your temperatures are usually warmer than normal. And when you have high winds, those just spread those wildfires like crazy.
Exactly, and that's what California is experiencing right now. And also you could look at Montana, Idaho, all of those states are seeing those wildfires because they're very dry right now. Their dew points are in the 30s and 40s, and their temperatures during the day could reach the 60s or 70s. So there's definitely a large gap there, which makes a very dry atmosphere.
Exactly, and I know we've seen this since early on this summer. I remember during weather discussions, even mine, I think in the beginning of the school year, we talked about wildfires, and we're still talking about them.
Yeah, we're still talking about them. That's because right now is California's dry season. So they're experiencing that dry weather for months on end right now.
Right, and I remember watching different different newscasts and the Weather Channel and things like that, and many of them talk that some of them are mostly close to 100% contained. So that's at least good. They're finally getting a handle on it. I know some rain in some parts did come through, maybe not enough to completely contain it, but they are starting to work on it, which is nice.
Right, because just last week, Santa Rosa, California, just north of San Francisco there, they were practically destroyed. A ton of neighborhoods were destroyed, people were killed. So it's definitely very devastating to see that the weather could impact everyone so much.
Yeah, I remember hearing a story about this family that literally had to stay in their pool just to survive. That's all they had, and I don't know what I would do. It's just a very devastating story, and definitely a lot to be thankful for what you have.
Definitely. So that's the type of weather that if you were to go out west, that's what you would end up seeing for the fall season.
Right. But now we can switch it to fog because that's what we experience around here.
Yeah, definitely. And fog is very common during these autumn months. That's because the nights are getting longer and our daylights are getting shorter, and this allows the temperatures to fall towards our dew points even quicker throughout the day. So as the air cools, it can't hold as much water vapor in the air, so those tiny droplets start to form. That's when we start to get that fog.
Right, and fog can be dense at sometimes and even last longer into maybe 8 or 9 o'clock until the atmosphere starts to heat up and that fog can dissipate. So definitely fog can be very common around here and especially affect traveling, whether to school or work as well.
Right, because we usually end up seeing this fog in the morning. I know even last week, for a few days in a row, we saw that fog, and it decreased the visibility here for, I think we had less than 1/4 of a statute mile.
Wow.
So definitely limited it, and like you said, even until 9 a.m. So it definitely caused a little bit of problems with commute in the morning too.
Exactly. And another thing that we deal with around here are frosts.
Right, and right now we haven't actually seen any frost because it's been so warm lately, but actually for northwest Indiana here, from Chicago to the southwestern part of Michigan, that right along the lake is where we start to see those frosts at the end of October from like the 21st to the 30th. Now the further out you go from the lake, that's when you start to see those frosts a little bit earlier.
Right, but because we've been so warm, I don't think we're going to see those frosts really anytime soon.
No, probably not. For frost, you need that temperature to dip down to right around 32 degrees Fahrenheit.
Which we're starting to get there. We have some lows around 45 degrees, so maybe in a few weeks, but definitely prolonging the season for sure.
Right, that's definitely when we get our average first frost, but it is possible to get that first frost later in the season too. For Chicago, the latest frost they've had was actually the end of November. So it's quite possible that it's going to take that long. I don't know if it'll be quite then because, like you said, our overnight lows are dropping down into the 40s.
Right.
But our temperatures during the day are right around 70 still. So it's definitely quite a large gap to start seeing a frost right now.
Exactly. Now, one last break, but when we come back,
we'll be talking about the fall activities we took part in as kids.
Plus that and more in just a few minutes.
Welcome back to the cold front. We hope you enjoyed the different types of fall weather right before the break.
Now let's shift our conversation a bit to what weather we experienced in the fall when we were kids. So Sabrina, I heard you like fall.
I love the fall. It's my favorite season. I like it because we have the colors starting to change on the leaves. The temperatures are a bit cooler, so you start to feel, you could wear like those sweaters and boots. Definitely my favorite season. It feels so crisp and fresh.
Exactly. Now, I hate being cold, but I do like sweater season. I do like legging and boot season. I like to be warm, so at least with fall you can cuddle up. Maybe if you have a fireplace or a bonfire and like a nice blanket. Now that's okay. I can deal with that.
Definitely. Maybe not that bonfire or a fireplace just yet. Bonfire you could do because you're outside, but we don't need those fireplaces just yet. A little too warm for that.
When it's 62 degrees in your house, you could use a fireplace for sure.
But those fall activities that we're talking about, there's so much to do during the fall season.
There definitely is. I know County Line Orchard is a huge hit around here. Some of my friends have done some pumpkin carving and went through the corn mazes. Now, I haven't been to a corn maze in years.
Really? I was just a few years ago was that one, but mostly it's the pumpkin patches that I go to.
Those are always the cutest and perfect date nights too, even with friends. I always just have a blast. I know I want to go to a haunted house too. Again, it's been years. I feel like I don't do anything for fall anymore, but I just really want to go so bad.
Yeah, I just went to a pumpkin patch over fall break with some little kids, and that's always it's fun to do in fall, to bring the little ones because they just love the fall season too. They're all pumpkins and you go on the hay rides. It just really brings about that fall atmosphere.
Exactly. And I remember being a kid in the fall, we used to take school field trips to the pumpkin patches and you'd be there with your classmates and everyone pick out like a cute little pumpkin. And I always thought that was so cool. And I remember being young and we had these huge 100-year-old trees in front of my house. My parents would rake up the leaves and they would throw me into the leaves. I secretly still want to do that, but that's probably one of my best memories from fall.
Now, with the pumpkins, do you paint them or do you carve them? I know a lot of people are back and forth on that.
I think I like to carve my pumpkins. Not
Okay.
so much paint. What about
No, me
you?
too. I carve them. I do
Okay.
little triangles for the eyes and the smile of the mouth. Very classic
standard
each
issue.
year. Very classic. But with the leaves too, I love raking them and jumping into them. I used to do it all the time with my dog when
Yes.
I was little
Aw.
too. Just sleep over those leaves. Definitely a lot of fall memories from when we were
Even
kids.
some people make like pumpkin pies out of the pumpkin seeds from the pumpkins.
Okay,
I
yeah.
know my grandparents did that. I never did that. That sounds a lot of complicated things for me. But yeah, you can make your own pumpkin pie straight from the pumpkin. So doing two
Alright.
things at the same time.
Wow, yeah. I've never made a pumpkin pie with it. I've
Okay.
always taken the seeds out and then soak them in water, throw some salt on it, bake them in the oven.
Oh, really? I've never
Yeah,
tried
really
that.
good pumpkin seeds. Definitely something you should try for this fall season.
Definitely something finally to do.
If you're not like picking apples or anything at the
That's
apple
true.
orchard, you can make an apple pie too if you'd like.
Exactly.
So that just about does it for another episode of The Cold Front. Follow us at View TV Weather on Facebook for the latest weather updates.
Also, stay up to date on the latest news here on campus and around the country by following VUTV on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
I'm Sabrina.
And I'm Joy. Have a great week, Valpo.